Thank you for tuning in to our latest podcast episode. Today we have Tyrone Green. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on? Thank you for having me.
So yeah, man, thank you for coming along with the show. I appreciate you accepting it and coming down here and all that. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then how you got into real estate, please?
My name is Tyrone Green, as Memo mentioned. This is my 5th year in real estate, so primarily I focused on residential. I recently made the change to a new brokerage where I now incorporate commercial real estate into my business, and it's been quite an interesting journey. You know, I initially used to work in inpatient psychiatry for 10 years, and as I jokingly say, I went from inpatient to outpatient psychiatry because essentially I'm still providing emotional support and different assistance to individuals throughout the process of acquiring a home and or selling a home. But been in for 5 years. I made the change from working in corporate America because I felt like not only did I want to change and grow with some things financially, but also within the business. So I wanted to grow within the business, not only from becoming a realtor to learning firsthand information as a professional, but also using it to my advantage of becoming an investor.
Got you. And you said you've been doing this for 5 years, you said?
Yes, this is year 5. I actually just celebrated my 5-year anniversary back in February.
How did that go? How was that?
It was good. It was good. I didn't do anything officially, but essentially that was my 5-year mark. And, you know, I guess it's safe to say, I think 3 years or something in the business? Yeah. I forget. I got over that hump and I'm still going and growing.
Yeah, because they do say that after 3 years, it's like, that's when you really start making money. That's when the business starts growing to a point where it's just like, you know, bubbling up one after another. So they do say that the 3-year mark, that if you make it past the 3 year, then that means that you're successful. You're doing something right. And you never gave up too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I never gave up. Never gave up, never thought about giving up. I'm going strong.
I mean, because the same thing with us. Like, we've been through a lot of pitfalls. We've been through a lot of, like, ups and downs, and we've never given up either. We still constantly working and growing, figuring things out. I mean, like, we've been to the point where we've created a website, got to the end of the website, and then had to start all over again. And I know that might be a struggle for a lot of people, but that's just part of what the game is. Like, you work hard at the business, you get it to a point, and then you realize there's another point, there's another level. Or you realize that you've built something and maybe you had to build it to know that that's not quite it, and you have to keep growing. But is there anything, so back to real estate, is there anything about real estate that you felt, any struggles about real estate, any stories that you want to share with us?
One of the biggest struggles I have, and, you know, I think a lot of individuals can relate to this, but I had to really come to the realization that I can't help everyone. And for me, you know, I genuinely like to help people, right? I've always worked in a space where I was providing some sort of resources or support to individuals. And in this space, it's a lot of different moving parts, and I have no control over it. So I can't control one's credit score, controls one's employment history, and any other barrier that they may have when it comes to either not only purchasing a house, but selling a house. So that was some of the barriers that I struggle with understanding that, hey, I can't help anyone. I mean, everyone.
Yeah, because you probably want to win every deal, right?
Yeah.
And every deal that, you know, you face, you want to make sure that it closes, but sometimes that's just not how it goes. Like you said, you can't help everybody out.
I mean, but to be honest, like, not only just win every deal, a lot of times, not every client is a good fit for you or your business. Because
very true.
I don't want to be more of a disservice to someone taking them on knowing that I don't have the best services to support them in that situation. So a lot of times I have to say no before we even get started because I can see already that maybe I'm not the best fit. You know, I don't service the area they're looking for or the market that they may be looking in. I may not be as familiar with. So I'll just say no in the beginning so that way I don't waste anyone's time.
And I do feel sometimes that there's a lot of clients that have just super high expectations, where the expectations might just be out of this world, where they might want to sell a house for a price that they probably are not going to get. Or they might want to buy a house, but their credit might prevent them, or like what they've purchased too. So I feel like sometimes we have a lot of clients that have super unrealistic expectations, and it's kind of hard to like bring them back down to earth and let them know, hey, look, this is what I could do for you realistically, right?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, so we call it dreams versus reality. I don't want to kill anyone's dream. Dream as big as you want, right? Hey, I want this big house. I want to sell my house for millions of dollars. Maybe that may be true, but this is not the $1 million house, right? So I'm going to provide the factual data to help support why this one is not within the range of what you're looking to sell it for, or what may be things that's stopping you from buying a house within this range. Maybe you got to get your employment up some more, get some more income, things of that nature. But dream as big as you want, as I say. But at the same time, like you say, them back into a realistic setting to let them know that in this current day and time, may not be.
How do you feel that the market is right now? Like, what do you feel like we're in a buyer's or a seller's market right now?
In Chicago, I feel like it's area specific, right? Because in certain parts of the city, you're still seeing multiple offers and situations, and like still a lot of competitiveness. Maybe not the same during the COVID, where the pandemic, where they were bidding substantially over. But then at the same time, you still seeing in certain areas that values and properties are sitting and the values are going down. So I think it's kind of dependent on where you're looking to buy and what you're looking to buy, which market in particular, right? So
100%.
I think that a lot of times we try to categorize everything as a whole, but sometimes I think it fluctuates depending on the product itself, whether it's multifamily real estate, single family homes in the suburbs, things of that nature, right?
Yeah, because I feel like right now the suburbs are real hot right now. Maybe not the luxury side of the suburbs, but like we work with certain agents and they can't keep a home. Yeah. Like by the time we take the pictures and try to give them everything, they're getting offers so that there's not an open house.
Exactly.
And they're just going with it. They're like, hey, we have a cash offer. Just cancel that open house. We have other clients that are more on the luxury end, and some of their properties are flying, but then they're struggling with other ones. So I feel like it's in a very particular spot. It's definitely not where it was COVID. Where everything was just selling and people were leaving the city and just all different types of things were going on. I feel like we're not there anymore right now. So in the state of where the market is right now, would you recommend somebody buying a home right now?
I recommend someone to buy a home if they can afford to do so, right?
Great answer.
Yeah, I think that no matter the market, it's always a time to buy. What it is that you're buying, I think that plays a big role into the decision. So that'll be my response. If you can afford to buy, definitely do so. But weigh your options, right? You don't want someone to be house poor, essentially, as we say.
What does house poor mean?
So meaning that they spend all their money and everything that they have onto obtaining a house that maybe they can't afford. And that's the reality of it. You have so many wonderful programs and a lot of different ways in which one can enter real estate by acquiring a home. But sometimes that still can put someone in a tight position, because a lot of the information that's being talked about is how to get a house with little to no money down. And I think that when someone acquire a house with literally little to no money down, they also sometimes have little to no money in their account. So when things come up with the home, they may not be prepared to execute and get those things taken care of because maybe they didn't have money to begin with.
Yeah, that's a very dangerous place to be in, because anything could happen. Like, you can get damaged. Maybe the heater stopped working. Maybe the AC don't work. And it's like, well, if you barely got into the home, you're not gonna have enough money for these changes. So that is like a very tough spot to be in.
Yeah, I mean, even as a realtor, I still try to put different safety things into place, so such as like home warranties, right? Of course, we know insurance covers some things, right? But then you also have home warranties. But it's some things that's not covered within those home warranties, or that the insurance may or may not cover. And that's another plug. Make sure you talk to your insurance agent to make sure things that you think will be covered is actually covered. And that's some of the things that people don't check into. So maybe, a lot of people may think they have water and sewage backup coverage, that they don't have that. And I have clients who have a lot of water claims and things like that where it may not be covered. But that's for you to check in with your insurance agent.
That is 100% true, because I was just having a conversation with somebody that does commercial work, and they were telling me that nobody was prepared for COVID, and when COVID hit and nobody could come into the office, they had a lot of people that were like trying to get out of their lease, but the people that manage or own the buildings, they were not having it because they still got to pay the banks, and it was a situation where a lot of people just paid that fee. And just broke out of that lease because when COVID happened, nobody was going to the office, and so that wasn't written there. That whole thing wasn't written, as far as like, you have situations where, like, if a hurricane comes and knocks the whole building down, you could get out of the lease, or if certain natural things happen, but nobody was ever prepared for something that was biological. And when COVID hit, I feel like it changed the rules a lot. A lot of people adapted to that. To the pandemic.
I agree. I think that not only did it change the rules, most importantly, it opened up a lot of individuals' eyes in different aspects, such as to understand that the importance of having reserves. You know, we always say have money saved, savings account, but having reserves for the unexpected, right? I think that it played an important role because, you know, a lot of businesses was thriving before the pandemic. And then when the unforeseen happened, then, you know, business, you know, stopped being conducted in a regular setting, and it affected people drastically. And they realized that, hey, I wasn't prepared for this. I didn't have enough money saved, or I didn't have things in place in the event that this happened. Even as far as health insurance, right? You got some health insurance where if you go out on disability, it'll help cover certain expenses, right? But just not having your everything set up properly within your life as it relates to not only money saved, having proper insurance, things of that nature, just to, you know, prepare for the worst.
100%, 100%. Do you feel that right now, is a good time for somebody to sell their home?
Sell a home?
Yeah, especially with inventory being low. Do you think right now is a good time for people to sell their home? What would you say to somebody that wanted to sell their home?
If someone's looking to sell at home, so me, I try not to give a lot of just general information. I feel like a lot of this stuff is case by case basic, because think about it. If you go out there telling everybody now is the time to sell your home, one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is that some people may be upside down, or some people may have to actually bring money to the closing table to sell their home that they may not have. Wow. So just openly telling everyone to sell their home may not be the best advice, right? Mm-hmm. I got a client now who found out unexpectedly that she had a $40,000 water bill that wasn't getting taken care of. So essentially, with that being a big deficit, it would definitely require her to bring, you know, for the price that she's selling a home, it will require her to bring money to close, and she don't have the money to close. So just telling everybody to sell their home, you know, again, I think it's important for us to look at it as a case by case basis, and then also realizing once you sell your home, what is the plan, right? Because then if you're going to sell your home and then go buy a new one, does it make sense for you to do so? Or, you know, so I just try to look at everything on a case by case basis and just trying to find out what one's individual goal is and what that looked like for their particular situation.
100%, 100%. What do you think about people that rent versus people that are buying their home? How would you try to convince somebody that might be renting for over 5-7 years, good credit, you know? Yeah. I always personally feel like you're paying somebody's mortgage. It might not be yours, but you're paying somebody's mortgage when it comes to renting.
No, I understand, and it's good. It's good. A lot of people talk about that, and that's what everybody, you know, says. Hey, why rent when you can own, right? But my take on it is that it's fine to rent, just own some stuff, right? Because if you own the right type of investments, it will pay for where you rent. So just because you rent in a place, that doesn't mean that you can't own other properties. So I believe in owning some things, and maybe those investments will pay for the rental that you have, right? Because no one says that you have to own the house you live in. You can own other houses. So everyone that's your neighbor that's renting, that doesn't mean that they don't invest in real estate. Most people don't talk about that. So I've done it myself, and that's why I'm a big advocate for it, because I have investment properties that pay for a place that I prefer to rent. It wasn't like it was me paying for it.
Yeah. My biggest thing about why I prefer to buy than to rent, especially right now since the rent's going up, is I have it locked.
Yeah.
Like, so my mortgage is locked. It's not going to go up or down. So that's to me, that's the biggest thing that makes me happy, is that, well, I've been a homeowner for over 10 years. So it's been locked for over 10 years. And right now, while everybody's rent's going up, my mortgage is on one.
That's true.
And that feels real good, personally.
It do feel good. But at the same time, we all must understand that mortgages does fluctuate. Taxes, if the value of your area goes up and your taxes go up, that can affect your mortgage going up as well too. That's one of the takes. But also, when one rent, and again, I'm a big firm believer on ownership. I believe, again, that one should own some stuff. For some individuals, you know, when they owning things or temporarily renting things, they're just probably getting themselves a little bit more situated in other aspects. I mean, for some people, renting provides flexibility, because some people may work remotely where they don't want to own a specific primary residence because they may move a lot for work. So again, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of this stuff is on a case by case basis. So when I tell someone about renting, again, if it's someone who's just, hey, I'm renting because I have anxiety or a lack of information about the buying process, then we definitely should have a conversation, because they may be very much so throwing money out the window. Yeah. But if it's someone with a strategic plan and and weighed their options, then again, you give them grace and understand that, hey, you didn't even you missed the part of the conversation where they say, yeah, I'm renting here, but I just didn't share to you that I actually own other properties that I just don't live in. So that's the thing too.
Yeah, you brought up a good point, because even me too, like one of my goals is to move to Mexico for 1 year, and we're not gonna stay in one spot the whole time.
Yeah.
We're gonna bounce around Mexico. So for us, it doesn't make sense to like buy or build a house, because I might want to live central Mexico for like 2 months, and then I might want to move more towards the ocean, somewhere by the beach. So like it makes sense. Like if there's a plan and there's a reason why you want to rent, it totally makes sense. What if you work downtown and you want to just stay in the West Loop?
Yeah.
Because you want to be strategically closer to your job. So it makes total sense. But if it's somebody that's just renting to rent because you're scared of owning something because something might go wrong, I think that you're going to be spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
Versus you buy the house, you build a house how you want to build a house, you put all the improvements, and it's your house.
That's true.
I mean, you can even buy a multi-unit where you can live in the basement or in the top floor and rent everything out and live for free. I feel like there's so many things that we can do, and I do feel that it's very important for ownership because there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah. So
and the value goes up.
That's true. That's true. So much power in that. And a big thing that I want to reiterate about this part of this topic is that one of the biggest things is to get educated.
Yeah.
Get educated, consult with a professional and lean on them for their expertise and just get the proper guidance. And then you too may find out what's the best option for you to take.
Do you have any tips for somebody that wants to negotiate a fair price in buying a home?
Price is subjective, it depends on what they're looking to achieve when they're negotiating what they consider to be a fair price for a home. Because for some, negotiating closing cost credits where they bring a little, helping them to bring less money to the closing table may be part of the price that they're trying to structure for the home that they're looking to buy. And or if they're negotiating money off of the price so that then maybe their mortgage can go down, a little lower. So it just depends on what we're negotiating as it relates to price for them to consider the first fair price. But one of the things that's also important to notate is that where are we coming up with the numbers as it relates to price, right? So as realtors, we look at the comps, right, or the comparables in the area. So we have to make sure that the price that we're trying to submit is justified, right? Because sometimes that's when we talk about, that's where a lot of these unrealistic expectations come from, because they're not backed by factual data. So if someone is trying to buy a house for $300,000 and every other house in the area is selling for $500,000, is my buyer being realistic with trying to get negotiate $200,000 off the price? So it just kind of depends, right? We look at it as a whole, right?
100%. Is there any good neighborhoods that are on the rise that you would recommend somebody to look into? Maybe family, not so investors?
Yeah, me personally, I like Washington Park. I think Washington Park provides a lot of the things that some of the neighboring communities have, such as being close to Bronzeville, where a lot of people looking to go.
I like Bronzeville.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Bronzeville for sure. So Washington Park, Bronzeville, which is also not far from Hyde Park. But as far as the communities, of course, I'll say like Bronzeville, North Lawndale, East Garfield Park. These are some of the areas that I like.
I grew up around North Lawndale, little village.
Yeah. I'm from North Lawndale.
Actually, that's one of my goals, is to buy a house by somewhere near Central Park in Ogden.
Yeah.
I really feel that in the future, all of Ogden is going to be like the Magnificent Mile.
They have
maybe we're ahead of ourselves, but I feel in the future, I see all of Ogden transforming into something amazing.
No, you're definitely not ahead of yourself. Part of, like I say, do your research, but also just understand, like, if you sign up for the newsletters of the community, you'll realize that they have a lot of different initiatives and a lot of money being put into that area, but just different parts of Chicago. That's a plug itself, just to subscribe to newsletters and find out what things are in the master plan and what things are going to be coming to the communities. But definitely, when you say Central and Ogden, like the North Lawndale Christian Health, they own a lot of land and things over there where they're bringing a lot of different things to the community, right? The schools over there they built the new school over there not long ago. Of course, you have the police station that's not too old within the area, but it's a lot of different things that's coming over there to North Lawndale, but that particular area as a whole.
Yeah, they have a good like church, medical little situation going on around Pulaski and Ogden.
Yeah.
That's where my mom goes. So I feel like they have a lot. I feel like that area has a lot to offer. I definitely see that blowing up in the future.
Correct.
Doing good. I've actually we shot a listing there
Okay.
in the neighborhood. It was a pretty rundown building, but I mean, it had a lot of potential.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I think it's a good neighborhood. It's definitely good. Any other neighborhoods that you would recommend, maybe for investing, multi-units and stuff like that?
It depends on the investor, right? Because when we, again, you notice I'm saying it depends, right? So what type of investor are we looking? Are we looking for the investor that's looking to house hack and live in one area, live in one unit and rent out the other, where they may be a little bit more hypercritical as to the development and the aesthetics of the community, or someone that's just truly looking for investment where they may not even live within Chicago, right?
What if it was somebody that just wanted to have cheap bills, that wasn't really concerned about the crime? You know, like that's not gonna scare somebody, but maybe just somebody that was a different part of their life where they just want to save some money. Maybe house hack, live in one unit, rent the rest out.
So what areas do I think?
Yeah,
could be
what
some
area would you think that? Because I feel like right now with the situation, and I've talked to a lot of people, they're not scared of the crime. They just want to control like what they pay. They just want it to be reasonable, especially since the rent has gone up.
Well, we seen some of the things that used to primarily happen, and I guess within certain neighborhoods in the city, we starting to see it happen all around the city as a whole, collectively, as it relates to crime, right? Note that as realtors, we can't consider areas safer than others, but I find that a lot of individuals are moving to Inglewood for affordability because they see that there may be some things coming that may be a little bit more further out, but it's a good place to move as far as some things.
I've seen white people jogging in Inglewood. I was like, wow,
Hey.
it's changed. When you see that, I'm like, it changed.
Hey, I mean,
A lot of Mexicans too. A lot.
you know what? Chicago is becoming a lot more diverse, right? We used to have a lot of
Big
targeted
time.
areas where you used to see primarily different races being mostly the majority in certain areas, but now you're starting to see people are commingling within certain areas, and I
I
think
like
that's fair
that.
to everybody.
It feels like New York.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You find out, yeah. So people are like, look, hey, it used to be like, hey, this is the wealthy side of the town, this is this side of the town, but now people getting in where they fit in. And
It feels good.
And it feels good. So when you ask about those areas, I just think that Chicago is hot. Chicago real estate is hot as a whole, right? So people are just kind of getting in with what makes sense. So again, to give you some targeted areas, I like North Lawndale, East Garfield, West Garfield Park. We got Washington Park, Bronzeville, of course, Inglewood, right? South Shore is another area. So these are some few areas.
South Shore.
So yeah, so I'll drop a few areas. South Shore is another area. So yeah.
Getting into social media right now, because we're real big on social media. We believe that our plan for this year is for us to grow our social network. Okay. And we're pushing our YouTube page. We want to monetize that soon. We want to actually start making money off that page. How important is that for you to build your personal brand online?
Building your personal brand is very important online. Why? For me, because I've noticed that building my brand online has put me in rooms that I haven't physically been in. So that's one of the biggest important things about me building my brand online, because when I get out there and provide this information and be a resource to my audience, they then reshare that information to other audiences that they may have affiliations with. And then, people reach out for me from different states or different parts of the area. And they say, hey, Tyrone, I seen the video you posted. Can you share some light as to what you were talking about and provide some more stuff in detail? So creating that brand online is very important.
So do you feel that social media has helped change the way you interact with people?
Me personally?
Yes.
I wouldn't say necessarily that it changed the way I interact. I think that it just continues to show individuals a little bit more who I am, right? Because sometimes through a transaction, some of them happen quick, sometimes they happen short. But online, it gives them a little bit more look into my life outside of real estate or what different things that may transpire during different deals. So yeah, I don't think it changes the way I interact with people. I think I interact the same because I believe in authenticity.
Well, where I was trying to go at, do you think it has changed in a way that it has helped you conduct business? It has helped you get more leads? Have you ever gotten a lead from social media?
I have. A lot of my business, I'm referral based. A lot of my business comes from social media. So yes, I will say me putting out more content, providing that value online has definitely helped my business to grow.
Yeah, because we have a conversation. Me and Bobby always have this conversation, and we feel that social media is here to change. It's here to stay. Social media is here to stay. It's not going to change. We feel that it's only going to get bigger, but at the same time, it's very competitive right now. Yeah. And I feel that, we feel that we're taking a more of a polished approach to it instead of more of a like a run and gun. We feel that style is kind of like, oh, they're over with. For us, we put a very scripted. For us, we really sit down and we talk about what we were gonna talk about, because we really feel like that having a brand and having attention is the new rich, and you having like all these followers, then that puts us on a different pedestal, and that gives us something more to offer. So we feel that as we build our brand, it has worked. We've seen the benefits. We've seen people that want to work with us. We've seen people that specifically saw us through social media, and that's why they're working with us.
That's true.
So we're putting all our energy into it. How serious do you think that real estate agents should be about social media?
I think they should be very serious, right? Like as you mentioned, especially during a time where you have a lot of information online, and a lot of this information, to be honest, is coming from unlicensed professionals. So I think this is the time for real estate agents and real estate professionals to shine, right? To really show them that, hey, I know my stuff, right? I do my research, and the information that I'm providing to you is factual data, right? As evidenced by, look at the day in the life of some of the activities that I do, which is also content, right? Which is look at these real people, real solutions, real transactions, right? By providing insight about different parts of the transaction, or what happens when you carry someone from getting pre-approved to the closing table, right? And I think that
100%.
helps to show people that, hey, real estate has a lot of moving parts, but if you work with the right professional that's willing to educate you, hence myself, Tyrone Green, you'll be able to, get through it. And then I'm also going to just be online showing you that, not all transactions are the same. But again, that's all parts of the content, right? So when you go on there and you can see a timeline and a history of events, which is a part of building a social media brand, I think it helps people find comfort in it, right? And then also the amount of followers you have is not always shown by the amount of followers that the number have on Instagram, because a lot of people look at your content, which your analytics could provide. Because I watch people that watch my story continuously that does not, technically hit the follow button, but I see that they're watching. I see that something brought them over there. So it's for me to do my due diligence and maybe reach out to them and say, hey, I noticed you watching my story. Did you have any questions about the real estate process? Because again, I'm doing my due diligence and watching who's watching me as best as I can.
That's true. Good one. Because we feel that, we talk about this all the time. We feel that we're living in the best of times. We feel that everybody that you want to work with is somehow connected to one of these social media platforms. So we feel that pretty much everybody that you want to work with is online. It's up to you to like create the content and to put it out there so that you can attract them. I mean, like there's nowhere in time where we've all been disconnected, where you can pick up your phone right now, put out content, and probably everybody in the world is on one of these platforms. So we feel that right now it's like the best time for you to build content. Like nobody has ever had it this good as far as business wise, because nobody has ever been disconnected before. That's true. I don't think it's going anywhere.
I agree. So let me give you an example, right? So when Reup podcast become one of the top podcasts in the world, and I get to go back to my episode and say, hey, you remember I was featured on this podcast, right?
Episode number 9.
Episode number 9. Then again, it'll give me some credibility because I was featured on one of the greatest podcasts, and vice versa. When my brand blows up, and who knows, some of the clips from this
we'll be bringing you back.
Exactly.
What you mean? We'll be bringing you back.
Exactly. So, and some of these clips may go viral, right? So then again, it all goes back into the content creation and what one's brand can do for them, right? So the words that I say on here and the value that I provide during this episode could be something that could be life changing for the viewers out there.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the goal, because when it comes to buying a home, I feel that, or even selling a home, I feel that a lot of people are lost. They don't even know the whole process. Yeah. Especially for somebody that might have never bought a home, they think that they want to look for the real estate agent, which is a good thing to do, but you're missing out the point. Like, you need to first see how much you're approved for. You need to first meet the loan officer, because even that could be challenging, because you need to meet the right loan officer that knows all these different loans, that's just not working with like, a couple of loans. And I don't think that people understand too, is like, you might be in a situation where if you wait off 6 months and fix your credit score, like you have more of a buying power.
Yeah.
And it might be cheaper. And I feel like there needs to be somebody out there that can just navigate people through the whole process.
Yeah.
Because even like me, like I've been at closings lately, and I was watching somebody sign all the paperwork. After the first or the second piece of paperwork you sign, they're lost.
Yeah.
It's like they're just signing stuff away. I mean, they obviously have blind trust that everything that's going on is legit and nothing bad's happening. But I feel like as a real estate agent, there's a lot of room for people to just kind of like navigate them through the whole process.
True.
And just break everything down. I feel that sometimes as us professionals, we're so educated in our field, and we think that everybody is as educated as us, when I feel like it's the opposite. I feel that a lot of people are completely lost, and they feel like they're looking for that one person that can hold their hand and take them from A to Z.
Yeah.
And make it easier. And I feel like there's a lot of room for people to educate, for other agents to educate, because we're lost. Like from the other side of the table, like we're lost. We don't know what the process is. We don't even know what paperwork we're signing at the closing.
That's true. So I think that it is a lot of room for a professional to educate, but I do want to share light that sometimes individuals are overindulging in too much information. So sometimes when that right individual is providing that necessary education that they need to receive, it's conflicting for them because it goes against things that they may have heard online. So I think that you have to be conscious as to how much information online that you consume, because sometimes you bring that to your professional, and then now it conflicts with you being able to retain and receive good information and feedback. So that's one of the things I like to say, is that it's okay to look at certain things online, but when you pick and choose one professional that's very resourceful, make sure that you trust in this individual, right? You pick somebody that you really are looking to work with and collaborate with, because it's going to be a team effort, right? Because as a realtor and real estate professional, I can connect you with the loan officer that's going to walk you through appropriate credit score to have to obtain a house. I can connect you with a real estate attorney that's going to go over that contract, so that when you on page 2, they're not just virtually having you sign documents without having you fully understand what it is that you're signing. And also as a realtor, I'm going to walk you through various scenarios of A to B of how to acquire a property, and why that the process that we're going through is different from what your uncles and aunts may have went through during their time, right?
100%.
But it's important for me to shed that light. But when individuals come to me, I have that conversation with them to let them know that, hey, I'm the real estate professional, and I'm here to educate you, but I hope that you're willing to be receptive to the education, right?
And
trusting me to do my job, because that's the reason why they came to me. And if for whatever reason they feel like the connection may or may not be there, I haven't had many experiences, but for whatever reason, I allow them to work with someone else, right? Because again, I can't help everyone. And again, everyone is not a good fit for my business. And I think that if we can collectively agree on that, it'll help a lot of these transactions grow. It'll help a lot of these buyers and sellers grow. Because again, sometimes you spend more time arguing about certain things, and it's not, the process have a lot of different moving parts to begin with.
Yeah,
anyway.
100%.
And a lot of different things we can't control, but the things I can control is giving you the factual data, being a good resource, genuinely caring for you. So allow me to do that as smoothly as possible. And then I think that, once they can probably ease up, realize that they have a ally in their corner, then they'll be able to get through this process a little smoother. But if we're spending more time fighting at one another, then the transaction is not going to be a good experience.
Yeah, because if they're bringing their dad on inspection day and he's going over everything, all the little nooks and crannies, like, it's going to be tough. And I feel like sometimes too, like, as you as a real estate agent, you're kind of in the middle, right? Like, you're in the middle between the loan officer, the attorney, the inspector. Like, you have all these, the buyer or seller. So you're kind of like the middleman for all of this.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, your job is to make sure that this gets through.
Yeah.
So whatever happens, you're kind of like at everybody's mercy. If you get a call at 9 a.m. and something's not going right, like, you're at everybody's mercy to get that deal through.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that it's important that a buyer or a seller understand, like, that your real estate agent is there to make the process go as smooth as possible.
Correct.
To navigate you through everything. If something happens, you're there to come up with a solution.
Correct.
You have an answer. If that didn't work with that loan officer, you have another loan officer. If you didn't like what this person said, you're able to bring in another person. Sure. So you're kind of there just to make sure that this goes as smooth as possible.
That's true.
So,
and I think that's why, along what you're saying, that's why being a resourceful realtor can take you far. further than other agents because you being resourceful, having access to other people and other business partners that can help move a deal along. But also open and clear communication is going to be very important, right? Because when you communicate with one individual, you don't leave them up guessing, leaving them openly receptive to all this other information that they're going to hear out there. I say, hey, I know you're going to see this online. I know you're going to see this online. We can talk about those things, but this is what relates to your situation. Because of your credit score, your interest rate is within this range. Because of the amount of money you have saved, this is what this looks like for you. And this is what homes that you approve for. I mean, this is what homes that you can buy within the range in which you approve for. So when you actually communicate with them and provide realistic examples and factual data, as I keep mentioning, it sometimes, a lot of times, help the process go a little smoother because, hey, not only am I just telling you these things, I'm providing support and evidence to help you understand that, hey, I'm not trying to sell you, I'm trying to tell you, right? This is the things
definitely,
to know.
definitely. And I think like some of the stuff that you've said is not that far away from what other agents have their struggles, and they're telling me like dealing with certain buyers or sellers, and like you said, they're talking about, well, I heard this on the news or I saw this. Well, they're the only where the news plays a factor, but I feel like the majority of the time they're not right.
Yeah.
They're kind of like giving you an overall answer, but like you're right, like everybody is in a different situation. You're in a different neighborhood. Your income is different. Your overall everything is different. So like the information you might hear on the news might not even relate to you. It might just be an overall kind of like answer, but each individual has a different situation going on. So that might not even be. So you're right. You do have to trust your agent. You do have to trust the person that you're working with. Correct. And you have to trust that they're in your corner and they're there to make the process go as smooth as possible from A to Z.
Correct, 100%. Everybody's talking about a market crash. I mean, even alone when COVID came and a lot of banks and institutions tightened their guidelines, are you prepared if the market crash? Will your credit scores support you to be able to get through a time where if they're being strict with their guidelines and not lending money to people with lower credit scores and no money in the bank as reserves and showing evidence that they could pay money back? Will that fit your situation? So a lot of people are saying that, hey, I'm fearful or I'm hoping or praying for a crash, but they may not even realize that if a crash did come or was to happen in whatever capacity, as it relates to anything, right, is they in the best position to even take advantage of that, right? So I think that people, again, has to get educated and make things work for them as best as it relates, right?
Yeah, because I don't even think that the housing market's going to crash because from all the data and research that we've been doing is everybody's investing in property.
Yes.
Because they're fearful that the stock market's going to crash. And if that crashes, you need to park your funds somewhere that's more safe. And I feel like right now, real estate seems to be the safest place to park your money. Yeah. So I don't think that the real estate market's going to crash like 2008 and stuff. Yeah. So I think that was a rare occurrence. I don't think it's going to happen like that. I mean, you never know. Maybe something big happens that's out of our control. Yeah. You have a lot of things going on in different parts of the world, and that could have a big factor in it. Yeah. But until that happens, I mean, like, I don't think it's gonna happen.
It goes back into what I was mentioning. When you purchase or when you buy right. And what is buy right? Buy within your affordability, right? Buy within what makes sense, right? Because again, when we get into a market where they're talking about house hacking, live in the house for free, that's not always the reality. And I just like to get on this, get out there and let everyone know, because not all rent support covering the mortgage and other expenses, because they don't talk about that. They say, hey, live in one unit and have the rest of the units pay for the mortgage. What about having money set aside for maintenance and expenses and vacancy rates? Because these are other things that encompass with a real estate, having real estate, right? You have to have money set aside. So if a tenant does move out, do I have money to fix the unit up if there are damages? Do I have money set aside to hold over to help me to make payments on things in the event it takes me longer to get a tenant back in place? So, you do have a water bill that you have to pay on some of these properties, right? Trash, sewer, different things that comes up with a real estate transaction. So again, it goes back into that education piece where people have to realize that, hey, when I'm acquiring a property, what does the numbers look like? We're not talking about mortgages this is how much I'm going to get in rent. No, you have to have spreadsheets, Excel sheets, things in place to help you to come up with the numbers so you really have an idea of what your profits and losses really looks like, right?
100%, because I feel like a lot of people online make it sound so easy, but they don't tell you of all the unexpected things that can happen. What if you get like this tenant that doesn't pay, and now they're there living rent free, in your property, and you have to see them every day. Like, they don't prepare you for all of that. They don't prepare you on how you can protect yourself from those type of people. Because there's ways that you can protect yourself from that situation. So I do feel like a lot of people paint like this beautiful picture about how real estate is so easy when it actually is not.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. One wrong move that you make, you can be setting yourself up for somebody that's super educated to take advantage of you. And now they're in your home for like 2 years,
Correct.
living, living rent free.
Potentially, right? But again,
that could be scary.
Like you said, I think that real estate is easier for those with the proper systems in place, right? Because then not only do you have, again, we talk about your real estate attorney that's helping you when you acquire the real estate, right? Because in Chicago or in Illinois itself, we do use attorneys. Other states don't even use real estate attorneys, but in Illinois we use attorneys, and we have that asset to help protect us when it comes to a transaction, right? You have your realtor who's negotiating numbers and things of that nature, right? But then also when it comes to tenants, you can put a property manager in place, which also may be a little bit more familiar with real estate laws and different things that transpires as it relates to tenants, right? So then when you have that individual that's managing your portfolio, then you may not have to wait 2 years to have a tenant get out of your place, right? Because they may know, hey, when we start to see these signs, we're not gonna wait till they stop paying for 6 months to start the eviction process. On day 5, when they stop paying their rent or they late on their rent, you give them a 5-day notice. You show up immediately, right? You show them that, hey, we serious, we mean business. So when you put in a maintenance request, we're gonna fix the item. But at the same time, when rent is due, we expect you to pay. And if you don't pay, then these are the measures that will be taken to, to pretty much so we don't get to the point where you're spending months without getting paid rent, right?
And a lot of people don't know that. So we're at the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
And this is the moment where we give you like your shameless plug, where you look into the camera. I would say this one right here, and you just kind of give us your shameless plug. Why should people work with you? You can just say, how do you feel? This is why you should work for me, or this is opportunity to put. If you have something that's coming out, an event that's coming out, or in your case, a book, this is the opportunity right now.
All right, so what's going on, everybody? It's Tyrone Green. I'm a residential real estate broker now, growing and expanding my business in the commercial space. So if you're looking for a realtor that not only focus on residential real estate and or commercial, I'm your guy. Not only am I practicing real estate professional, I also have annual events such as my upcoming cognac and cigar events, which will be on June 8th, where I invite all industry professionals, no matter what industry you're in, to come out and just network and have a good time. And you can build and grow your business by collaborating with different resources that I often have present in this room. And if you're not in any professional space, come out and have a good time, where I just create a safe environment where people can listen to music, dance, eat food on me, because I just like to see people have a good time, because that's a part of my goal. So not only do I like to see people in a happy space, in a more organic space, I also believe in education. So back to my real estate business, where I find that a lot of my clients work with me because they see that I'm authentic, I'm down to earth, I'm real personable, right? So not only am I a constant and professional, but I'm also really, really, really focused on making sure they can see their goals through and through, right? So I think that's a good thing that I like to let people know for the most part. I also want to highlight the fact that I have a book coming out, right? I don't have the release date set just in stone. I have a book coming out. The release date is not yet set in stone. However, be on the lookout. You can follow me on my social media platforms, Tyrone E. Green. That's social media. That's TikTok. That's Facebook. You can also visit my website, www.tyronegreen.com, where I also provide updates. And be on the lookout for my book, which will be talking about a roadmap through a transaction, where it can help you with the interactive guides that I have in there to actually, prepare you to work with whatever professional you choose. Because in those workbooks, it'll tell you some of the questions that you can ask your professional when it's time to start your housing search, or when it comes to you getting ready to sell your house. So if you're looking for a real estate professional that's going to educate you and to be authentic but also transparent, then I think I'll be a good fit. And if not, hopefully I got a good recommendation or referral for you.
Great. Thank you for doing the show again, and stay tuned for the next one.
Cool. Thanks for having me.